Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort Change of Responsibility and Change of Command ceremony. The official party for today's ceremony consists of the host commander, Lieutenant Colonel Daryl O. Hood, commander of the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort, Colonel Maria T. Zumwalt, commander of the 48th Chemical Brigade, Fort Hood, Texas, and the incoming commander, Lieutenant Colonel Brant D. Hoskins. Command Sergeant Major Victor B. Whiteborn will relinquish responsibility to the incoming Command Sergeant Major Melvin J. Fields, Jr. The commander of troops is Major Roberto Salas, and the adjutant is Second Lieutenant Laura M. College. Participating units in today's ceremony from left to right on the field are Headquarters and Headquarters Company, the 9th Chemical Company, the Battalion Color Guard, the 11th Chemical Company, and the 172nd Chemical Company, 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort. Today, we are pleased to have in attendance Major General Stephen Lanza, 7th Infantry Division Commander, Command Sergeant Major Dilbert Byers, 7th Infantry Division Command Sergeant Major, Brigadier General James B. Burton, 20th Support Command C. Burney Commander, Command Sergeant Major David Puig, 20th Support Command C. Burney Command Sergeant Major, Colonel Ken Camper, 17th Fires Brigade Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Stephen Sadinger and Mrs. Paula Caters, 555th Engineer Brigade Rear Detachment, Command Sergeant Major Kendall Owens, 48th Chemical Brigade Command Sergeant Major. Representing 1st Corps and Joint Base Lewis McChord is the 1st Corps Army Band, the heartbeat of America's Corps. Assigned to 1st Corps on 1 July 1991, and performing more than 500 requests annually, they provide superior musical support for 1st Corps, Joint Base Lewis McChord, and the Pacific Northwest. Today, the band is under the direction of Staff Sergeant Terrell Henkel. The drum major is Staff Sergeant Christian Williams. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the invocation given today by Chaplain Vandervelde of the 6th MP Group, formerly the chaplain of the 110th Chemical Battalion.
What an honor it is today to represent the 110th one more time. Let us pray. Awesome God, holy creator and sustainer of all life, we humbly stand before you to seek your abiding presence during this truly momentous occasion as the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort changes both command and the Command Sergeant Major responsibility. Lord, we thank you for the leadership that the outgoing command team of Lieutenant Colonel Daryl Hood and Command Sergeant Major Victor Whiteborn have provided during their time leading the utmost battalion. Grant them and their families your peace and success in all their future undertakings as they continue to serve our nation, its soldiers, and you. Answer them as they seek you for guidance and purpose and direction in new places and new things in life. Lord, we ask that you give Lieutenant Colonel Brant Hoskins and Command Sergeant Major Melvin Fields your wisdom and vision. Empower them like you did David and Joshua, and guide them as they assume their responsibility of leadership. Bless, we pray, our families. Protect, we ask, our soldiers. And Lord, bring your peace. In your name we pray, amen.
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Please direct your attention to the VIP seating section. At this time, Sergeant Lamb, the Battalion NCO of the Quarter, is presenting a bouquet of red roses to Mrs. Michelle Hood and Mrs. Marilyn Whiteborn. These roses are a token of appreciation from the soldiers of the battalion for the love and support they provided to the soldiers and families of the battalion. Lieutenant Colonel Hood is also presenting gifts to his son Morgan, in-laws Gary and Jerry Klein, and Michelle's aunt and uncle Mary and Sid Brestel. Command Sergeant Major Whiteborn's daughters, Kenyatta, Kenya, and Kenyana will also receive single roses. Mrs. Janine Hoskins and Mrs. Tammy Fields are being presented with a bouquet of yellow roses by Specialist O'Farrell, the Battalion Soldier of the Quarter, as a welcome to the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort family. Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins' grandmother, Ruth Slape, his daughter Mackenzie, and his mother-in-law Sharon Stidd will also receive a bouquet of roses. Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins will also give gifts to his grandfather, Reverend Eugene Slape, his father Daryl, his son Jacob, and his father-in-law Robert Stidd. The 110th Chemical Battalion was originally constituted in the Army of the United States on 11 July 1942 as the 33rd Chemical Decontamination Company. The unit was activated on 11 August 1942 at Camp Blanding, Florida. Serving in the European Theater of Operations during the Second World War, the company was awarded 5 campaign streamers for participation in Normandy, with a streamer with an arrowhead indicating participation in the initial assault, Northern France, Rhineland, Ardennes, Alsace, and Central Europe. After the end of the Second World War, the company was deactivated on 17 October 1945 at Camp Swift, Texas. On 29 December 1953, the company reactivated in the regular Army and was redesignated as Headquarters and Headquarters Detachment 110th Chemical Battalion. On 5 January 1954, the 110th Chemical Battalion was activated at Okinawa, Japan, and deactivated there on 28 December 1954. On 16 September 2005, the battalion was reactivated at Fort Lewis, Washington, and designated as the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort with the mission to conduct worldwide short-notice operations in support of unified land operation commanders and governmental agencies in order to combat chemical, biological, radiological, nuclear, and explosive incidents across the nation and the globe. The battalion deployed a total of 5 Sea Burning Response Teams, CRT, and a Technical Escort Company headquarters in support of Operation Iraqi Freedom and Operation New Dawn in Iraq between 2007 and 2011. The battalion also deployed a CRT in support of Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan in 2012, in addition to multiple individual soldier deployments. The battalion has also executed multiple technical escort weapons of mass destruction, WMD, elimination operations throughout the United States. On 1 October 2012, the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort was reorganized, and the 172nd Chemical Company at Fort Riley, Kansas, was added to the battalion's task organization. This reorganization further enhances the battalion's capacity to conduct full-spectrum WMD elimination operations. Today, the Iron Dragons stand ready for the nation's call, ready to eliminate weapons of mass destruction, to protect the nation, and defend our liberties, utmost, all the time. In just a moment, you will hear the adjutant direct sound attention as today's ceremony begins. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the arrival of the official party.
Sound Brigade on!
Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Sound order on and parade run!
The 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Daryl O. Hood, the incoming commander, Lieutenant Colonel Brant Hoskins, and the brigade commander, Colonel Maria Zumwalt, will now inspect the troops. This symbolic inspection represents the last time Lieutenant Colonel Hood will inspect the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort as its commander, and shows the reviewing officer and the incoming commander that his command is ready and in good condition before relinquishing command.
Sir, the command is prepared for inspection.
Lieutenant Colonel Hood is a native of Athens, Georgia. He served as an enlisted soldier from 1985 to 1989 and then participated in the simultaneous membership program with the U.S. Army Reserve and the ROTC program at the University of Georgia, UGA, from 1989 to 1991. He graduated in December 1991 with a Bachelor's of Science degree in Agriculture Technology Management from UGA and was commissioned on active duty as a chemical officer. Lieutenant Colonel Hood graduated from the Chemical Officer Basic Course in 1992 and Advanced Course in 1996. He obtained a Master of Arts degree in Human Resources Development from Webster University in St. Louis, Missouri. He is also a graduate of the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College at Fort Leavenworth, class of 2004. On June 30th, 2011, Lieutenant Colonel Hood became the 4th commander of the 110th Chemical Battalion. Prior to battalion command, he was on a joint assignment at U.S. Central Command, where he served as a liaison officer to Headquarters, United States Forces Afghanistan, and Headquarters, International Security Assistance Force, located in Kabul, Afghanistan. He also served as Deputy Chief and Chief of the Seaburn Branch, Force Protection Division, Joint Security Office, J3 Operations Directorate, Headquarters, U.S. CENTCOM, and MacDill Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida. Additionally, he served overseas assignments in Germany and Korea, and operational deployment for Operation Joint Endeavor in Bosnia-Herzegovina, and combat tours for Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan in 2011 and 2010. Lieutenant Colonel Hood's next duty assignment is at Fort Leonard Wood, where he will serve as a deputy commander for the 3rd Chemical Brigade. Lieutenant Colonel Hood is happily married to the former Michelle Klein of Cape Coral, Florida. They are blessed with sons O'Neill and Morgan, daughters Lindsay and Auburn, and son-in-law TJ. Lieutenant Colonel Brant Hoskins was commissioned as a 2nd lieutenant in the U.S. Army Chemical Corps following his graduation from Southern Oregon State College in June 1993. His military education includes the Chemical Officer Basic and Advanced courses, Airborne School, Ranger School, the United States Army Command and General Staff College, and the Advanced Military Studies program. He holds a Master of Science degree in Adult Education from Kansas State University and a Master of Military Arts and Sciences in Operations, Plans, and Training from the U.S. Army Command and General Staff College. Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins' previous assignments have included Battalion Chemical Officer, 2nd Battalion, 3rd Field Artillery Regiment, Platoon Leader, 25th Chemical Company, and Brigade Chemical Officer, 4th Brigade, 1st Armored Division, Germany. Officer Basic Course Instructor, U.S. Army Seaburn School, Fort McClellan, Alabama. Assistant Regimental Chemical Officer and Company Commander, 89th Chemical Company. 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment, Fort Carson, Colorado. Mechanized Infantry and Brigade Combat Team Seaburn Observer Controller, National Training Center, Fort Irwin, California. Plans Officer, 20th Support Command, Seaburny. Battalion Executive Officer, 22nd Chemical Battalion. Chief of Plans, 20th Support Command, Seaburny, Aberdeen Proving Ground, Maryland. Chief of Staff, U.S. Army Seaburn School, Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. And his deployments include Operation Joint Endeavor, Bosnia, Seaburn Reconnaissance Platoon Leader, 1st Armored Division, Operation Joint Guard, Bosnia, Brigade Chemical Officer, 1st Armored Division, Operation Iraqi Freedom, Combating Weapons of Mass Destruction Planner, Headquarters, Multinational Forces Iraq. Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins is married to the former Janine Stitt. They have 2 children, Mackenzie and Jacob. Ladies and gentlemen, please refer to your programs for the outgoing and incoming Command Sergeant's major biographies.
Present the command. Round, present arms. Detachment! Present! Arms!
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the national anthem. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated.
Detachment! Order! Arms! Sound order arms and parade red!
Ladies and gentlemen, Command Sergeant Major Owens will now oversee the change of responsibility. The War Department in 1840 adopted the unique non-commissioned officer's sword. It is a completely functional weapon, not intended for display, but rather for hard and dedicated use. While no longer part of the Army's inventory, American sergeants wore it for over 70 years, during which occurred the Mexican-American War, the Civil War, and the Spanish-American War. The passing of the sword signifies the relinquishing of responsibility from the outgoing to the incoming Command Sergeant Major. Command Sergeants Major may come and go, but the sword remains razor sharp. Ladies and gentlemen, the change of responsibility. Staff Sergeant Kenyon will pass the NCO sword to the outgoing Command Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major Whiteborn, for the last time. The outgoing Command Sergeant Major then passes the NCO sword to Command Sergeant Major Owens, the Brigade Command Sergeant Major, relinquishing his responsibility. Command Sergeant Major Owens will then pass the NCO sword and all it represents to the new Command Sergeant Major, Command Sergeant Major Fields, who assumes responsibility of the command. Command Sergeant Major Fields will then pass the sword to the Color Sergeant, charging him with maintaining his symbol of responsibility. Ladies and gentlemen, the outgoing Command Sergeant Major Victor B. Whiteborn.
Good morning. Major General Alonzo, Brigadier General Burton, retired Brigadier General and Mrs. Roush, Colonel Zumwalt, Colonel Camper, Colonel Sadinger, Mrs. Paula Caters, Command Sergeant Major Byers, Command Sergeant Major Puig, Command Sergeant Major Owens, Dr. and Mrs. Romero, other commanders, Command Sergeant Majors, family members, and friends, welcome to today's ceremony. Thank you all for coming today. It is with great reserve and excitement that Lieutenant Colonel Hood and I pass the organizational colors to the incoming command team. Reserved because we truly love the Iron Dragons and will deeply miss them, and excited because we know that they will continue to serve with great honor and distinction under the new command team. Brigadier General Burton and Command Sergeant Major Puig, I thank you. You've allowed us to show our competence and ability to do what is required of us. Command Sergeant Major Puig, I personally thank you for coming out to be our guest speaker at our most recent Pacific Northwest Green Dragon Ball and Conference. Your words of wisdom, your insight helped to bridge the gap between CBRN and EOD skill sets. We are truly one because of you. Thank you. Colonel Zumwalt and Command Sergeant Major Owens, in the place of my good friend, Command Sergeant Major King Graham, I also thank you for allowing us the opportunity to get it right in your eyes. Your passion and your leadership, along with your desire to actually see us succeed, has blessed the Iron Dragons like no other previous command team before you. Wanting to show our love for the soldiers standing on the field and knowing that they have several speeches to go through, my comments will be brief. How about a round of applause for the soldiers standing on the field right now? Colonel Hood and I have attempted to sync our comments in the interest of time. I will cover a few soldiers standing on the field. He will cover some of the accomplishments of the battalion, and the brigade commander will cover, well, whatever she wants to. I've been the command sergeant major of this great organization for almost 4 years. I've seen the good and as with any organization, I've also seen the bad. To attempt to elaborate about the accomplishments of this organization in my short allotted time would do the members of the organization a disservice. Not because what I or Colonel Hood have done, but what they have done. Not because what we have accomplished, but because what they have accomplished. Because our non-commissioned officers have led the way in training our soldiers, our team certifications now take an average of 6 months to become mission ready instead of the 18 months that it once took in the past. They have also been able to do away with the once held notion that technical escort soldiers are only technical experts. They've changed the face of the way technical escort soldiers are seen. Now they are known to be as tactically competent as they are technically smart. I've seen us transform from the mavericks of the time that we were under the Army Material Command to the technically and tactically proficient warriors that are standing on the parade field today. I've seen us transform from the arrogant and somewhat cocky prima donnas who believed that the CBRNE fight revolved around technical escort to the professionals who now stand on the field with an understanding that they are part of a larger CBRNE team and community. Professionals like Corporal Maine, who is the face of the word resiliency. As a private first class, after a traumatic event in her life that could have caused her and her career to spiral downward, she chose to become Army strong. She chose to use Army resources at her disposal, and she trusted in her leadership. She has since been married to another soldier, and I and Lieutenant Colonel Hood have recently held their newborn son in our arms while visiting them shortly after the birth of their first child. Soldiers like Sergeant Lamb, our chaplain's assistant, who, within 3 months of being assigned to the organization, notified me that we needed to have a spiritual fitness stand-down day. He quickly produced a comprehensive class that educated the soldiers of the unit and made us all have a pointed discussion about not only suicide prevention, but also spirituality as well. Thank you, Sergeant Lamb, for being my eyes and ears for the spiritual fitness of the battalion. Without the aid of an assigned chaplain, soldiers like Staff Sergeant Gabriel, our career counselor, who has helped us to be the first organization within the 20th Support Command to make their retention mission first 2 consecutive years in a row, an accomplishment that has never been done before in this organization. Soldiers like Sergeant First Class Lukabar and Captain Freeman, who have recently redeployed from Afghanistan. They were on a 12-month deployment that they readily volunteered for. Working with the Afghanistan Captured Material and Explosive Cell, they processed several hundred items during the course of their tour. Soldiers like Lieutenant College, Sergeant First Class Moa, Staff Sergeant Thompson, Sergeant Hans, Corporal Proctor, Specialist Phi, and Specialist Kutska, the unsung heroes of our S1 section. You are truly the best human resources soldiers I have ever worked with, ever. Corporal Proctor, by the way, single-handedly ran the section for more than 3 months alone. Soldiers like Sergeant Wagner, who was recently selected to attend Officer Candidate School. He exudes wisdom above his years. Thank you for taking care of the Command Sergeant Major as his assistant and driver. Soldiers like Major Salas, Major Park, Major Larimore, you 3 are amazing, simply the best. I will miss you dearly. Soldiers like Master Sergeant Freeman, Master Sergeant Hearns, Master Sergeant Martinez, who all volunteered to interview for an upcoming first sergeant position, knowing full well the stress and the long hours that come with it. Trust me, your time will come. Master Sergeant Freeman, we've been together a long time. You were my operations sergeant, my first sergeant, and now you're a team sergeant. You are truly dedicated to the Iron Dragon team. To the NCOs, hear me. Your entire career, you work hard, you live the Army Corps values, and you hope that someday you will be promoted to the next higher grade. And when that promotion comes, you work even harder, hoping again to be promoted along in due time. Having lived the life of a non-commissioned officer for more than 28 of my 31 years, I caution you to this end. Make every moment of the time in the position you have right now As a non-commissioned officer, you are right where the rubber meets the road as a sergeant, a staff sergeant, and a sergeant first class. Never take this time for granted. The very reputation of our Army is in your hands. Few Americans can tell you what a colonel is who are not affiliated with the military. Even fewer still know what a CG is. But every person in the nation knows what a sergeant is. They know full well that the sergeant is the ones that take care of the soldiers and are charged with their training and the care of our most precious resource, America's sons and daughters, America's mothers and fathers. Savor your every moment right now. Over the course of your career as a non-commissioned officer, you will witness many changes. Our nation's enemies will change. The way that we conduct operations will change. Our uniforms will change. Our commanders will change. And it seems that the list of changes is endless. However, the one thing that must not change, the one thing that cannot change is the role of the non-commissioned officer, the manner in which you execute your duties and responsibilities, and above all else, the stalwart leadership that you provide and the standards that you enforce. As you're promoted to positions of great authority and responsibility, you sadly are also removed from the very thing that you have grown to love. To whom much is given, much is required. For in much wisdom is there much grief. As I look back on my career, I would give almost anything to be able to perform the duties of a drill sergeant one more time, or maybe be a small group leader, or to have my platoon back for another 24 months. Those are the times that I will cherish the rest of my life. As I leave this place, I go my way to retire from the only profession I've ever known in my entire life. I must make way for younger, more intelligent, stronger, and more agile non-commissioned officers. But make no mistake, in my day, I was as stern as First Sergeant Foster of the 9th Chemical Company, who is known as the standard enforcer with the tenacity of a bulldog. In my day, I was as technically competent as First Sergeant Millette of the 11th Chemical Company, who was the youngest first sergeant in the battalion, the quiet professional. He was selected above more senior ranking NCOs to fulfill first sergeant duties. In my day, I was as detail-oriented and as compassionate as First Sergeant Walton of the HHC, who no matter how many soldiers with leadership challenges were placed in his company, he always handled their situations with care, compassion, and the know-how that would rival that of any command sergeant major. If I could, I would promote each and every one of you right now to the rank of command sergeant major. First Sergeant Clayson of the 172nd Chemical Company is also here with us from Fort Riley. I had the pleasure of meeting First Sergeant Clayson's family, and particularly I was impressed with his father-in-law, Lieutenant Colonel retired Stegmeyer. I am certain that we made the right choice in picking you as a first sergeant. Lieutenant Colonel Hood, sir, simply put, I've never met another officer like you. Thank you.
The change of command ceremony is a simple traditional event that is rich with symbolism and heritage. The key to the change of command is the passing of the battalion colors. These colors represent not only the heritage and the history of the unit, but also the unity and loyalty of its soldiers. The colors are the commander's symbol of authority, representing his responsibilities to the organization. Wherever the commander is, there also are the colors. The custodian of the colors is the command sergeant major. As a senior enlisted soldier in the battalion, he is both the spokesperson for the loyalty and concerns of the soldiers and a principal advisor to the commander. Ladies and gentlemen, the change of command. The Command Sergeant Major Fields, will pass the colors to the outgoing commander, Lieutenant Colonel Hood. The outgoing commander, Lieutenant Colonel Hood, will pass the colors to Colonel Zumwalt, relinquishing his responsibility and authority. Colonel Zumwalt will pass the colors and all they represent to the new commander, Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins, who assumes responsibility of the command. Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins will then pass the colors to Command Sergeant Major Fields, charging him with maintaining his symbol of command. By authority of Army Regulation 600-20, paragraph 2-3 Bravo, the undersigned assumes command of the 110th Chemical Battalion, Technical Escort, signed, Brant Hoskins, Lieutenant Colonel, Chemical, commanding. The Command Sergeant Major finally returns the colors to the color bearer, the enlisted soldier who exemplifies the highest standards of discipline, conduct, and military expertise that merit the responsibility of bearing the colors that represent so much to his fellow soldiers. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Maria T. Zumwalt, Commander, 48th Chemical Brigade.
Okay, here we go. Almost! A great way to start a speech. Commander Sergeant Whiteborn, wherever you are, that was absolutely special. We're so proud of you. And I tell you, a heartfelt thank you for everything you've done for this organization. Please, let's give Commander Sergeant Whiteborn a great round of applause. Good morning, everyone. It is a fine day at the home of the American Corps and the Bayonet Division. I would like to welcome the 7th ID Command Team, Major General Lanza and Command Sergeant Barnes, the command team of the 20 Support Command, CBRNE, General Burton and Command Sergeant Puig. We're also honored here today with the presence of the Triple Nickel Engineer Brigade Honorary Commander, Brigadier General Retired and Mrs. Ruth Rausch. Thank you. And also from the Triple Nickel Engineer Brigade, Colonel Stephen Stadinger and Mrs. Paula Caters. We also welcome a friend, Colonel Kebner, the commander of 17th Fires Brigade, and from the great community of Tacoma, Washington, Mr. R. and Miriam Romero, and the many, many distinguished guests and friends of the Iron Dragon Battalion. I also want to recognize my battle buddy, Commander Sergeant Major Owens, Spartan 7s, and the thousands of Spartans that are here in spirit today as part of this great celebration. Many of you know that the 48th Chemical Brigade is a geographically dispersed organization. We rely a great deal on our partner support. Thank you, I-Corps, 7th ID, Triple Nickel, 41st Fires Brigade, and the local community for everything you do for our soldiers, civilians, and families. And to our brothers and sisters in the 3rd EOD Battalion, thank you so much for sharing your valuable time with us. I also want to extend a warm welcome to the Hood, Hoskins, Fields, and Whitehorn families. Many of you have traveled from faraway places, and your presence here today makes this event truly special. And I also want to acknowledge all the families here today. You're the only true heroes that sacrifice so much for your soldiers every single day. Thank you for your unwavering support and selfless service. Please give all our families a well-deserved round of applause. To the I-Corps Band, thank you for sharing your exceptional talents and making this ceremony such a memorable event. And to the soldiers standing on the field and the color guard, you simply look amazing. I'm humbled and honored to represent our Spartan team and to be part of this special day. Today's Change Command ceremony is more than honoring the accomplishments of the outgoing command team and to welcome the incoming leaders. But as importantly, we also take time to pay tribute to the achievement and contributions of the soldiers, civilians, and families in this formation who do the utmost all the time. But first, I would like you to direct your attention to the reason we call this nation great And the reason we're Army strong, the magnificent Iron Dragon soldiers arrayed before you today. It takes a team of Army professionals to plan, prepare, and execute the staggering number of missions while maintaining the highest standards of good order and discipline. Only professionals that trust each other's words and action can undertake tough, combat-focused training, improve readiness systems, while always striving to be the absolute experts in the CBRNE mission. This team is fully aware that if the nation calls, they're a unique capability that must be ready, reliable, globally responsive, and capable of leading and executing CBRNE-related operations anytime and anywhere. In front of you are the American soldiers that stand ready each and every day to protect our freedoms and our way to life. Please give them a round of applause. It is hard to believe that 2 years ago, I presided over Colonel Hood's change command ceremony. And fast forward to today, it is remarkable how much has been accomplished. The Iron Dragon mission statement states, on order, 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort deploys and conducts operations in support of Unified Land Operations Commanders in order to combat CBRNE threats. In support of this critical mission, the Iron Dragons have answered the call of duty by responding to missions in Iraq, Afghanistan, Korea, and our homeland. On the peninsula of Korea, for the first time in the history of this organization, the Iron Dragons deployed twice in support of the 2nd Infantry Division and flawlessly integrated with the 101st and the 102nd Republic of Korea Infantry Regiments and executed mission command, partnership engagements, and served as the counter-CBRNE hazards subject matter expert in an extremely complex environment. The Iron Dragons represented our country in such a professional and inspirational manner that I had to fight my Korean Brigade commander counterpart to get them back. The Iron Dragons also recognize the importance of partnership with our allies. They superbly executed combined live agent training with Germany, Canada, United Kingdom, and other NATO countries as part of the high-profile exercise Precise Response. At JBLM, the unit hosted and trained with the 24th ROC Army Tech Escort Unit and the United Kingdom Royal Air Force's Sampling and Identification of Biological and Chemical Agent Team, both first-class exercises. And here in our homeland, the soldiers have conducted countless chemical remediation missions in Utah, New Mexico, Virginia, Iowa, Delaware, Michigan, New Hampshire, and Cincinnati. In support of our nation's civil authority, this team is skillfully coordinated and planned a world-class multi-agency capabilities exercise as part of the Defense CBRN Response Force that included the Missouri Civil Support Team, Federal Emergency Management Agency, 4th MEB, and many other support agencies. Additionally, the Iron Dragons fully embrace the meaning of supporting the community. These soldiers have constantly served the greater Tacoma community through events with the city of Roy and local elementary schools. So how do you enable success in our organization through an effective command team? And leading this charge are two great leaders. First, there's only one way to express Colonel Hood's absolute dedication. He is the consummate Army professional. He embodies competence, character, and commitment every minute, every hour, and every day. Lieutenant Colonel Hood has provided direction, vision, and energy to this team. He's led a swift and comprehensive transformation by distinctly improving the overall readiness of the organization in a way I have rarely seen. His foresight allowed the brigade to synchronize the conversion of the CBRNE response team training and certification program by aligning institutional requirements while reducing the need for contracted training. His team also led the brigade's efforts in the total revision of the CBRNE response team skills specialty course Lima 3 to a relevant and operational program. And as part of the Global Response Force mission requirements, he ensured the highest level of readiness for assigned CRTs to train and then deploy with the 82nd Airborne Division for the Joint Operation Exercise, JOAX, and in response to global threats. They're all generating outstanding synergy between leader engagement and good order and discipline programs, resulting in the marked improvement of personnel training and equipment systems. He approached every mission with intensity and passion to ensure growth and learning was cultivated across this organization. Daryl is the type of leader who will ask you how your day is going, regardless of your rank. He imparts wisdom and knowledge because he wants everyone to succeed. During his entire tenure, Colonel Hood also fostered a command climate that expected the best and brought out the best in soldiers, civilians, and families. On a lighter note, there's a little known fact about Colonel Hood that only the 48th and 110 team knows. Lieutenant Colonel's catchphrase is, that's interesting, which means you have just said something that is contrary to his instinct or original guidance or absolutely makes no sense to him. But the statement also carries a specific wicked look that we cringe when we all see it. It's been told that leaders in 110th have deleted the word interesting from their lexicon. We will never forget. Team Hood will depart today from JBLM, I think I hear the engines running, to the home of the CBRN School for Lennowood, where he will be the deputy commander for the 3rd Chemical Brigade. They will leave behind a legacy of absolute excellence. And as commanders, we know that we cannot accomplish our mission with our command sergeant major. And this command team was truly inseparable. Whether it was in the motor pool, in the field, evaluating training, running the trails, or on the dance floor, if you saw one, you knew that the other would not be far. As the backbone of the Army, Command Sergeant Major Whitehorn's ability to track and manage Army systems, cultivated trust and empowered NCOs to take ownership has been the foundation that held together this extraordinary team. Command Sergeant Whitehorn is all about standards. He's known as the 21st century Baron von Steuben. No one can match Command Sergeant Whitehorn's keen ability to orchestrate a formal ceremony or event. It is rumored that he's rewriting the manual for drills and ceremony. We will never forget even Command Sergeant Whitehorn's religious strength and his amazing ability to deliver spiritual remarks. I have seen him tackle people down to the ground so he can say grace before a dinner meal and praise that the unit chaplain doesn't show up for invocation and benedictions so he can do it. He's a true professional soldier and leader and will be greatly missed. The legacy you have left here and in your over 30 years in the Army will continue. You have inspired excellence in all of us, and your warrior spirit will remain within the hearts and minds in every Iron Dragon soldier. Command Sergeant Whitehorn will not go far. He will remain with the Triple Nickel team, but later this year, he will retire after 30 years of service to our nation. Beside remarkable soldiers are remarkable families. Michelle Hood and Marilyn Whitehorn contributed immensely to the organizations as senior advisors to the Family Readiness Group. You both juggle so much: family, career, school, volunteering, and serve as members of the community. You also made such an outstanding difference, whether it was sharing your experiences and best practices during the brigade and battalion steering committee meetings, welcoming new members of the team, empowering families, and most importantly, cultivating growth, teamwork, and kindness within the battalion. There's no money that can pay for your extraordinary support. To their children, Morgan, Kenyatta, Kenya, and Kenyana, thank you for being such an inspiration to your families. The Spartan Brigade could not be more proud of the Hood and Whitehorn command team. They've epitomized what it means to be an Army professional and a leader of soldiers. Today, Spartan soldiers across 8 different installations salute you. As we bid farewell to one team, we welcome another. Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins, his wife Janine, and his kids Mackenzie and Jacob, and Command Sergeant Major Fields, his wife Tammy, and kids Aladdin and Cameron. You come to us with a wealth of experience and reputation of excellence. I thank you for taking this tremendous responsibility. But always, always remember, commanding our soldier is not a right, but an absolute privilege. And you must clearly recognize that the lives of these soldiers, civilians, and families have been entrusted to you. I'm confident that you will take this unit to new heights. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been an honor to recognize the achievements of this unit and its leaders. To the soldiers, let's never forget what bonds us together, our warrior ethos. Thank you all for all you do for our country. Spartans, leading to victory, liberty we defend, Army strong.
Ladies and gentlemen, the former commander, Lieutenant Colonel Daryl O. Hood.
Good morning, Major General Lanza, Brigadier General Burton, retired Brigadier General and Mrs. Roush, Colonel Zumwalt, Colonel Kemper, Colonel Sanager, Mrs. Paula Caters, Command Sergeant Major Byers, Command Sergeant Major Puig, Command Sergeant Major Owens, Dr. and Mrs. Romero. Other commanders, Command Sergeant Majors, distinguished guests, family, and friends, again, welcome to today's ceremony. Quick story. In the Army, we focus force on force. We refer to the enemy as the red force, the bad guys, and the blue force are the good guys. About 40 days, long time ago, the red force had a giant. The giant had been demolishing the blue force and whoever their point man was. It was so bad that the blue force was considering whether to wave the white flag to signal surrender. Back in those days, it was very common practice for young boys to bring forward supplies for sustainment and resupply operations. While resupplying, a young lad heard the blue force commander trying to inspire the troops. The commander was seeking for a new point man. He stated that the person would be a hero and would receive great riches if he was up to the task. The young lad could not believe what he heard. He was very excited and decided to go forward. The Blue Force commander had serious doubts, but he said, hey, no one else has been successful up to this point. When the Red Force giant saw what was happening, he lost his mind. He said, there's no way this person is going to defeat me. The Red Force giant pulled out his sword, let out a war cry, and started to prepare to engage the young lad. The young lad, to everyone's dismay, grabbed his weapon of choice, which was a slingshot, taking a perfect stone, firing it towards the Red Force giant, killing the Red Force giant, taking the sword and cutting off the red giant's head. Why am I talking about David and Goliath? That's because it illustrates initiative, empowerment, and gratitude. It shows how a young person took the initiative through courage, faith, and selfless service to achieve mission success and displayed gratitude for the opportunity. As you look out on the field today, the Iron Dragon soldiers, we are a small organization. We're only one of 2 units that the Army has when it comes to technical escort operations. This battalion has shortly right under 400 soldiers assigned to it. 100 of those soldiers are supporting their mission right now for the Defense Suburban Response Force out of Fort Riley, Kansas. We have a team that is now deployed with 82nd at Fort Bragg conducting an exercise. So again, the soldiers on the field are a small number, but that's okay. Just like David, they're ready for the task. Empowerment is the ability to begin or follow through energetically with the plan or task. Again, these Iron Dragon soldiers, based on what you heard earlier about deployments, have proven that they are up for it. Empowerment is based on the idea that giving soldiers and civilians employee skills, resources, opportunity, motivation, as well as holding them responsible and accountable for the outcomes of their actions will contribute to the competence and satisfaction. Reminiscent of true champions, leaders, and soldiers were empowered in building the combat power from 2 teams when I first took command to 8 teams about 8 months ago as we were preparing to help 23rd Chemical Battalion to restation to Korea. Gratitude for showing gratefulness and thankfulness and appreciation for everyone's effort. To all of the incoming and outgoing commanders, a total of 12, same for first sergeants, there were 8, numerous team leaders, assistant team leaders, team sergeants, soldiers, civilian, family, friends, and community supporters. Your collective and individual accomplishments are truly outstanding. You are the very fabric that clothes this organization, and you have my respect and my honor. Most of all, I am grateful for the many relationships that have been established. Regardless of whatever your contribution has been and will continue to be, the 110th Chemical Battalion is a better organization for that. Iron Dragon soldiers, along with the band, I appreciate what you've done. One more time, I ask that we give them a round of applause. Major General Smith, and now Brigadier General Burton, thank you so much for your leadership, your tutelage, and opportunity to command the utmost battalion. Colonel Zumwalt, you have my supreme respect as you have allowed me to lead. You found and fought a way to provide the necessary resources for the brigade and this battalion. You are truly a people's person and will go out of your way to take care of soldiers and families. You also will be missed. God bless you in your next assignment as you head off to Afghanistan. Colonels Brobeck and Caters, I could not have asked for a better administrative command set of brigade commanders. I would gladly serve with you in a foxhole, no matter where you are. Colonel Camper, although we have only interacted for about 4 months, I appreciate your top cover, your massing of artillery fires, and your leadership style. Command Sergeants, Majors, Command Sergeant Major Puig, Command Sergeant Major Graham, and now Command Sergeant Major Owens, your efforts reiterate why NCOs are the backbone of the Army. You are awesome. To my fellow battalion commanders and sergeants majors, you have been like faithful brothers, and I do not make light of that. It is through teamwork and partnering that made mission accomplishments much easier. Thank you. To my battle buddy, Command Sergeant Major Whitehorn, I will never forget your steadfast commitments as my senior enlisted advisor. You stood by my side and helped me change it as a change agent and an enforcer of standards. We pushed each other to qualify expert on weapons, score 300 on APFT, helped develop submarine response teams, went through certifications. The list goes on and on. I will remember how we walked the perimeter, stood in the trenches, no matter what the terrain or country soil may have been. We executed missions regardless of the contemporary operating environment. We sat through countless hours of meetings, but the best memories will be of you and me with our Iron Dragon soldiers and accomplishing a myriad of tasks and missions, sharing stories about our beautiful spouses and talking about life one day after the Army. That one day for you is right around the corner. Well done, my good and faithful servant. These are the words our Lord will say about you. To Maryland, Kenya, and Kenyatta, thank you for sharing your daddy with our soldiers. Thank you for allowing him to make a difference and to invest in our men and women. You will soon reap the benefits as you prepare to transition from active duty. As you get closer to returning to Talbotton, Georgia, where there is finally 2 caution lights in that town, I will look forward to your continued success. God bless you. To my Battalion XO and Battalion S3, I am indebted to your loyalty, dedication, and work ethic. You truly know how far we have come and how much this organization has changed and grown. Battalion staff, you have my appreciation for your amazing accomplishments. To the past and present company commanders and first sergeants, officers, NCOs, soldiers, your individual and collective accomplishments are remarkable. To the DA civilians, Socorro, Terry, Nate, Dan, and Steve, you are the continuity and stalwarts for this battalion. Chaplain Vandervelde, I will always consider you as my battalion chaplain. Your 4 months in the battalion were magnificent and second to none. Thank you for answering the call and my request to be here today. When it comes to families, especially the volunteers of the battalion who support the Iron Dragon soldiers, I am more grateful and thankful than words can express. You certainly represent the bedrock of this organization. Doc and Miriam Romero, I will not forget what you did for the 23rd Chemical Battalion and 110th Chemical Battalion. Your generosity speaks volumes about your commitment. For all the alumni, friends, community supporters, Sound Life Church, Pastor Terry, Frank, thank you for joining us today. You're so generous and consistent because you genuinely care. To all the Broadmoor Laders, that's right, I'm giving you a shout out. Your friendship to Michelle is immeasurable. Your ladies' night, what you all refer to as Wind Down Wednesday, kept Michelle grounded. Thank you for that. To my parents in Georgia who are unable to make it, thank you for your love and encouragement. It's tough because Pops has COPD, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, but your thoughts and prayers are always with me. To my in-laws, Dad and Mom, thank you for coming all the way from Florida. Your faith, commitment, and unconditional love for God, family, and mankind motivate me. Sid and Mary, thanks for picking Dad and Mom up and making the trip from Oregon. You two are excellent role models. We serve an awesome God. I am blessed with God-loving parents, family members, and friends. To my son, Morgan, you inspire me, and I am so very, very proud of you. Thanks for being the man around the house when I'm away. You're talented and have God's favor upon you, and I expect and claim great things for you. Michelle, look at me. You're my queen and my beautiful bride. I thank our Heavenly Father for his touch and love he has blessed us with. I can relate to how Solomon felt when he wrote the Song of Solomon. The day we met forever changed me and brought me meaning and new meaning to life. I love you more than most. To Lieutenant Colonel Brant Hoskins, Janine, Mackenzie, and Jacob, welcome aboard. You are assuming command of only one of 2 Tech Escort battalions that exist today. Command Sergeant Major Melvin Fields and Tammy, I am very proud of you. It is good to see you back in the Pacific Northwest after serving with you in the 23rd back in 2005. Colonel Hoskins and Command Sergeant Major Fields, your assignment, history, and experience speaks volumes about you. The battalion is getting and gaining a great battalion command team. In closing, I leave you with a few quotes for some notable people who understood a thing or two about initiative, empowerment, and gratitude. Theodore Roosevelt said, if you could kick the person in the pants responsible for most of your trouble, you wouldn't sit for a month. Stephen King said, you can, you should, and if you're brave enough to start, you will. Walt Disney says, whether you say you can't or you can, you're right. Martin Luther King Jr. said, the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy. To every soldier, regardless of your rank, to every civilian, regardless of your job title or status, I challenge you to be the best. As Abraham Lincoln stated, whatever you are, be a good one. Iron Dragons are always willing and able because we are ready to use our bayonets as part of America's core, for it is liberty we defend. Whether you are rugged, a pacemaker, or a nighthawk, you are like Spartans leading to victory. Remember, in order to achieve success, you must give your utmost all the time. This is Ancient Iron Dragon 6, stepping away from the microphone.
Ladies and gentlemen, Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins, Commander, 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort.
Good morning. Major General Lanza, Brigadier General Burton, retired Brigadier General and Mrs. Ruth, Colonel Zumwalt, Colonel Camper, Lieutenant Colonel Sadinger, Mrs. Paula Caters, Command Sergeant Major Byers, Command Sergeant Major Puig, Command Sergeant Major Owens, Dr. and Mrs. Miriam Romero, other commanders, command sergeants major, distinguished guests, family and friends, welcome to today's ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and privilege for me to be here today to join with the men and women of the 110th Chemical Battalion in the ongoing effort to defend our nation and allies from the most lethal weapons known to science. These soldiers are a large percentage of the specialized capability possessed by our nation to locate, identify, render safe, transport, disable, and destroy weapons of mass destruction. There are only a few other units with similar capabilities. A quick look at recent news demonstrates that these weapons pose a real threat to our soldiers, our allies, and even our homeland. Soldiers, NCOs, and officers of the 110th Chemical Battalion, it is because this threat is so real and you are so few that we must always be prepared to meet and defeat all hazards at all times. I will do my best as your battalion commander to make sure we are ready for these challenges. At this time, I want to thank the band for joining us today. You sound great, thank you, and we will most certainly be calling upon you in the future. To Daryl and Michelle Hood, thank you for the kind reception that you extended to Janine, the kids, and I. I know the 3rd Chemical Brigade is keenly awaiting your arrival, so don't delay. To Janine, Mackenzie, and Jacob, thank you for the sacrifices that you have made throughout my career and moving yet again to be here with me. I'm truly blessed to have you by my side. And a special thanks goes out to my dear family and friends who have traveled from throughout the Northwest to join us today, and to the Fields family, many of whom came all the way from Oklahoma to be with us today. In conclusion, Iron Dragons, my prayer for you is Psalms 91, also known as the Soldier's Psalm. My commitment to you is my utmost all the time, and my expectation of you is nothing less in return. All policies and procedures remain in effect. Liberty we defend, Spartans, Iron Dragons, always ready, utmost.
Down the trenches! Down, officers and colors, post march!
Ladies and gentlemen, the 110th Chemical Battalion Technical Escort will now pass in review. The pass in review is a traditional formation that allows the new commander to inspect the troops. Please render appropriate honors as the national colors pass your location. Ladies and gentlemen, the commander of troops is Major Roberto Salas from Santurce, Puerto Rico, and the Bronx, New York. The battalion executive officer is Major J.C. Park from Seattle, Washington. The staff members are the S1, Second Lieutenant Laura College from Scottsdale, Arizona. The S2 is Captain Earl Kim from Los Angeles, California. The S3 is Major Mike Larmore from Poplar Bluff, Missouri. The S4 is Captain Sean James from Sumter, South Carolina. The 1st Corps Army Band is led by Staff Sergeant Terrell Hinkle. The drum major is Staff Sergeant Christian Williams. Headquarters and Headquarters Company is commanded by Captain Christine Miller from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. The 1st Sergeant is 1st Sergeant Corey Walton from Atlanta, Georgia. The 9th Chemical Company is commanded by Captain Stephen Signer from Pembroke Pines, Florida. The 1st Sergeant is 1st Sergeant Marcus Foster from Spartanburg, South Carolina. The Battalion Color Guard NCOIC is Staff Sergeant Paul Kenyon from Spokane, Washington. The 11th Chemical Company is commanded by Captain Michael Patton from Chicopee, Massachusetts. The 1st Sergeant is 1st Sergeant Sean Millett from Lynchburg, Virginia. The 172nd Chemical Company is commanded by Captain Marcy Blassingame from Sparta, Georgia. The 1st Sergeant is 1st Sergeant Lester Clayson from Willard, Ohio. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the playing of the 7th Infantry Division song, the 1st Corps song, the Chemical Regimental song, and the Army song. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes today's ceremony. You are cordially invited to a reception for Lieutenant Colonel Hoskins and Command Sergeant Major Fields, located at the 110th Chemical Battalion classrooms, Building 11894 on North JBLM. Lieutenant Colonel Hood and Command Sergeant Major Whiteborn and their families will move to the front of the reviewing stand to receive farewells.